Fallout New Vegas is old, it's clunky, it's buggy, and visually it shows its age almost immediately. But somehow, more than a decade later, people still talk about it like it's essential. That is not just nostalgia. A lot of old games don't survive being replayed. You remember them fondly, then you go back and realize they were mostly a product of their time. New Vegas is different. Under the jank, there is still a game with a strong identity, real role-playing freedom, memorable factions, and choices that actually matter. It is not polished, it is not smooth, but the things that matter most are still there. And that is why, even now, you still need to play Fallout New Vegas. The first reason New Vegas works is the Mojave itself. This is not just a map full of objectives, it feels like a real place. It has a mood, a personality, and a very specific identity. The Mojave mixes desert isolation, old world ruin, retro futurism, western imagery, and the faded glamour of Las Vegas into something that still feels distinct. It doesn't really feel like a generic post-apocalyptic setting. It feels like Fallout New Vegas and nothing else. That matters because the world is interesting even when you aren't doing a major quest. Just walking through the desert has a certain feeling to it. There's loneliness in the empty roads. There's tension in the silence. There is a sense that civilization never fully disappeared, but it never really came back either. Every major location has its own tone. Good Springs feels small and isolated. Prim feels run down and uncertain. Novak feels strange and sad. Freeside feels desperate. The Strip feels artificial, controlled, and almost surreal compared to everything around it. These places are not just visually different, they feel different. They each have their own problems, their own atmosphere, their own place in the larger world. The old signs, the casinos, the cracked highways, the dust, and the radio music all help sell that identity. Before you even get into the quests or the factions, the game already gives you a world worth being in. Mojave still has character. That is a huge part of why New Vegas still holds up. But atmosphere alone is not enough. The bigger reason New Vegas still stands out is that it actually lets you roleplay. A lot of games call themselves RPGs, but what they really mean is that you can level up, unlock perks, and choose between a few dialogue options that mostly lead to the same result. New Vegas goes further. Your build is not just a combat style, it changes how you move through the world. Skills affect conversations, quest outcomes, and the solutions available to you. Speech, science, repair, medicine, explosives, and other skills can all open different paths depending on the kind of character you've built. That makes the role-playing feel real. You are not just imagining that your character is smart, persuasive, technical, violent, or manipulative. The game gives those traits mechanical weight. Maybe you talk your way through problems, maybe you manipulate people, maybe you fix things, maybe you rely on survival skills, maybe you solve everything with violence because your character is reckless or brutal. The point is that the game gives those choices room to exist. That freedom also makes repeat playthroughs meaningful. You aren't just replaying the same story with different weapons. You can approach the Mojave as a completely different kind of person. A smooth-talking diplomat, a ruthless mercenary, a wandering survivalist, a faction loyalist, a selfish opportunist. New Vegas is one of those games where your character can actually feel different from one run to the next. That's one of the main reasons it still feels so strong. It doesn't just let you play through a story, it lets you inhabit a role. And that role-playing freedom matters more because the world reacts to what you do. This is where New Vegas really separates itself. The factions matter, the quests matter, and your choices usually feel like they have weight beyond the moment you make them. Major factions are not just different teams to join, they represent different visions for the Mojave. The NCR is stretched thin, bureaucratic, and flawed, but it also represents stability and structure. Caesar's legion is brutal and authoritarian, but it is treated as an actual political force, not just a random enemy group. Mr. House offers control, ambition, and a very specific vision of the future. And Yes Man gives you the option to reject all of them and carve out your own path. Those choices matter because each one says something different about what kind of future you are willing to support. The same design carries into the quests. New Vegas is full of quests that can play out differently depending on your skills, alliances, reputation, and priorities. You can talk your way through problems, solve them violently, manipulate people, expose people, protect people, betray people, or side with one group at the expense of another. The game doesn't just ask you what you want to do, it asks what consequences you are willing to live with. That's what makes the world feel reactive instead of static. Towns, factions, and characters don't exist to hand out missions and nothing else. They feel connected to a larger political and social structure. People remember what side you're on, groups react to your reputation, and by the time you're deep into the game, it genuinely feels like you are shaping the fate of the Mojave, not just checking objectives off a list. Of course, New Vegas has its problems. Combat's stiff, the shooting's rough, the animations are awkward, the movement feels rigid, and yes, the game is still buggy, even all these years later. Sometimes very buggy. You notice the age quickly. This is not an old game that hides its flaws. The cracks are obvious almost immediately, and if someone bounces off the game because of that, it's hard to blame them. But people keep forgiving those rough edges for a simple reason. The core of the game is strong enough to carry them. Once you get past the dated gunplay and the technical issues, what remains is a memorable world, real role-playing freedom, and quest design that trusts the player to make meaningful decisions. Jank is real, but it's not what defines the experience. In a strange way, the roughness has become part of New Vegas' identity. Not because bugs are good, they aren't. Because the game feels ambitious. It feels like a game that cared more about depth, choice, and possibility than making every animation smooth or every combat encounter polished. That trade-off won't work for everyone, but if you care about strong RPG design, New Vegas still delivers where it matters most. That's why it still holds up, and that's why you still need to play it.